Hey y'all, this is Jess. Welcome back to Sunflower Dairy. So today is super nice and I have a ton of things I need to get done. It's supposed to rain the rest of the week. Today is 75 degrees and I have about 3 hours before sunset. I have a ton of stuff to do. I have tons of seeds to start. I have lettuce and spinach and things that need to be direct seeded into the garden. I have potatoes to plant in the garden. I also have a ton of things I need to start in soil blocks and just a ton of different things. I also have a few perennial flowers I need to get planted, so let's go. All right, first thing I'm going to be planting is some perennial flowers. This is called Echinops, and I have a few spots in my perennial garden that things did not grow back, so we're gonna go ahead and plant these. All right, so I usually plant my perennial flowers in here, and this is ground cover with holes that have been burned in it, and a couple things did not come back this year, so we're going to be putting our Echinops in these empty spaces. We're going to be using our special drill bit. Alright, here's a photo here of what our Echinops is going to look like. Alright, I officially have all those planted, so off to the next project. Alright, next up I'm going to be planting carrots and lettuce. Alright, so I have the Danvers carrots, and then I also have the... I'll let you read that because the pronouncing will be interesting. Alright, for my carrots I'm just going to go ahead and make little rows. Now, carrot seeds are very small, so you do not want to bury these too deeply. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and rotate the different varieties that I'm going to do. I'm going to do every other for different kinds. Now, we are supposed to be getting a lot of rain this week, and carrots love rain to germinate. And carrots are also a cold hardy crop, so if you can plant them out when it's a little bit cooler and you're going to be getting some rain, they're usually a lot happier. Now, carrot seeds are small, so it's kind of hard to focus on the spacing with carrots, so as they get bigger then you can start thinning them out. And then also what you can do is let them start growing, and then you can also, when you're thinning them out, instead of just killing your plants, you can just pull in between the different carrots. You can pull them and then you'll have baby carrots, so you can do that as you're thinning, and then after you thin those baby carrots, then your carrots will get bigger after you thin them. So some people don't like to kill little seedlings, so if you just let them get to baby carrots and then thin them, you know, sometimes it's not as painful to people who don't like to kill seedlings. I like to rotate my crops because sometimes pests will like a certain kind of or variety of what you plant, so I'll rotate my different varieties that I plant, and then that way the same variety isn't all in the same spot, and then sometimes you'll have less pest problems in a certain area, so that's why I like to rotate crops. And then I will label as well so I know what is what. Alright, so with carrots, literally, you're barely going to cover them at all because the seeds are so small. And that's it. And then if it is really dry when you plant your carrots, make sure you're constantly watering these. But this week, we don't have to worry about that. We're going to have rain almost every day. So these carrots will be perfect. Alright, let's go plant some lettuce. Alright, it is time to plant some lettuce. So usually when I know it's time to plant lettuce is when my lettuce starts volunteering. I've been growing food for so many years that I almost all the time have things reseeding. Well, once I start seeing my lettuce volunteering, then I know it's time to plant my lettuce seed. So with lettuce also, the seeds are very small, so I just kind of rough up the soil. And then I'll just go ahead and sprinkle it in there. And you want to barely cover this because this is such a small seed. So literally just sprinkle it in. And some people, they'll just plant 1 or 2 lettuce seeds in a row, really spaced out so you can get like the heads of lettuce. But I find it's easier to do the cut and come again lettuce because you just let it grow and then you're cutting it and then it will keep growing back. So either way, but you know, if you do plant your lettuce so that heads will grow, you know, if you only do a couple of those, then you'll basically just be able to harvest 1 head of lettuce, you know, depending on how many you planted. You know, if you let it actually form and then, you know, then you'll need more lettuce. So I like to do the cut and come again, and then you can just keep cutting it and it will keep growing back. And I feel that that works out a bit better because I find that if you just come out and cut lettuce as you need it, then you usually get it used a lot quicker. Some people, if they just harvest a head of lettuce and then they'll just have it set in like their fridge, you know, sometimes that doesn't get used as quickly. So I like to just be able to harvest fresh, and then, you know, you can use what you need, and then, you know, it will grow back and you'll be able to harvest more. So either way. Alright, so now that we have that seed sprinkled, we're literally just going to rough up the soil. And then if it wasn't going to rain, you would definitely water your lettuce because lettuce also likes a lot of rain, but we're getting rain this week, so the rain will water this in for us. Alright, let's move on to the next thing. Alright, next up I'm going to be planting some spinach. Now I did plant spinach in the fall, and also I planted some in the winter, and that is growing, but I am going to do 1 more round of spring spinach, and then that's probably going to be about it for the spinach this year, because this right now is early April, but once you start getting into those warmer months like May, June, July, all of that, that's going to be way too hot for spinach because spinach is a cold weather crop. It likes to grow in the cold. So if you plant spinach when it's starting to get warm, it will bolt and you'll barely get anything from your spinach. So with spinach, I just rough up the soil, and then these seeds are a bit bigger, so I'll just sprinkle a few in here, and then we'll just go ahead and bury these. Pretty good. Alright, and that is our last late round of spinach for the year. Alright, the last project I'm going to be working on for today is I'm going to be making soil blocks for cucumbers. So when making soil blocks, I like to make sure that I have a container with soil, and you're going to put a generous amount of water in here. That way your soil blocks can stick together. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your soil sticks together without water just dripping out, but you want it to hold its shape. Alright, and then you'll just build up soil blocks. Alright, once your soil blocks are filled, you will level them off. and then you will just go ahead and press them out. Now these soil blocks, they have a space if you wanted to start with the smaller soil blocks, and then the smaller soil blocks can fit inside of these. So depending on what you want to do, but I need the bigger soil blocks for cucumbers, so that's what I'm using today. Now I don't only do the big soil blocks for cucumbers, but I do other things like squash, pumpkins, anything like that. Because any of those things, any of those bigger seeds, as far as cucumbers, pumpkins, squash, any of that, they actually don't really like the roots messed with. So if you start those things in soil blocks, then you know the air from the soil blocks, since your soil blocks are not in a container, the air prunes the roots, so you don't have to deal with trying to get roots out of a container and then the breaking them all being, you know, woven together and all of that fun stuff. So this is, I find, the best way. If you want to start your cucumbers and squash earlier, this is the best way to do that without messing up any of the root systems. Alright, so I have quite a few cucumber varieties. I'm starting today. I have the American cucumber, cucamelons, I have the lemon cucumber, and then white wonder cucumber. First up, I'm doing the lemon cuke. Now these cucumbers don't actually taste like lemon, they taste like cucumber. They're just the color and shape, but they are fun. So when I start my cucumbers in soil blocks, I usually take 2 seeds and I'll put it in each one, and make sure you label on the side of what's holding your soil blocks so you know what is what. And then we're just going to take a little bit of soil, and since these already have those indents where you would put those smaller soil blocks in, you just go ahead and fill them in. But it makes it super easy, especially for planting those bigger seeds like pumpkins and anything like that, because it has that space already put into it, so you don't have to figure out how to make a space in your soil block without breaking it or anything. So, and those are just covered. And then to water these, you put them in a solid tray, and then you just bottom water, and the soil blocks will just soak up the water. Alright, next up is the Armenian, and I actually have not planted this cucumber yet, so I'm very excited. I've heard a lot about it, and this is supposed to be a very large, really cool, unique cucumber, so I'm excited to plant this. Also, people say about this cucumber is it's actually technically a melon, but when you harvest it young, it actually is more like a cucumber. So super interesting. You can harvest it young and have it like a cucumber, and it tastes like a cucumber, or you can harvest it when it's older and it's more like a melon. So super interesting. It's kind of like planting one thing and getting 2 things from one crop. So super interesting, but we're just going to do the same thing, put 2 in each soil block. Then we're just going to cover them. Next up is the white cucumber, and a lot of people love this because of the really bright color. A lot of people like eating this on salads. We're just going to plant this the same exact way. We're going to put them in our soil blocks and cover them up. Next up is the cucamelon, or a sour gherkin. This is literally one of my favorite things to grow. So it's a cucumber, but it looks like mini watermelons, and it actually has a hint of lemon sourness after that cucumber flavor. It's super cool. It's really interesting, and they're so adorable. They're like this big. Now these seeds are really small, so we're going to put a couple extra of these in our soil blocks, and we're not going to cover them as deeply. Alright, I have the soil blocks all done. The cucumbers are all planted. Thank you all for coming along with me and getting so much stuff done today. I still have so much more to do, and now is the season where it's, you know, it's go time. It is spring. So literally there is multiple things to do every day, and it's garden time. It's go time. All right, all, thanks for watching and have a blessed day.